The thing is, we always got to label it, right? Humans have to label everything, which immediately complicates the whole issue. If you just don't label it, guess what? It gets a lot easier. Thanks, man.
Dude, no problem.
How's it going?
Good, how are you? Go ahead, talk.
Oh, yeah. It is pretty nice out for freaking end of November.
Today we're talking with my brother, Adrian Schenk. I wanted to sit down and actually ask Adrian some questions about where he's at, what he's doing, because I only get to hear it every few months, and it'd be nice to hear what's happening right now, what you're dealing with right now, as well as how that fits into the larger journey of your life. So
no wrong answers, right?
No wrong answers. So tell us, what kind of school are you doing?
So pharmacy school, doing at Creighton University. And
that's in Omaha?
Omaha, Nebraska, yeah. So right on the edge of Iowa and Nebraska.
Mm-hmm. So what are the kind of responsibilities you have right now at Creighton?
So right now, there's a couple of responsibilities I have, do different ones. So one of them is I have academics, which takes up most of your life. It's amazing how fast that can take up your life, and you don't even notice it. It's almost like you realize how these dudes that work 7 days a week forever on some company that they have, you kind of realize how they do that all the time. And you realize how they're working constantly, because it's actually very possible to never stop working on stuff. So that's my first responsibility. The second responsibility is I'm a student government president over there. So I overlook PTOT, so physical therapy, occupational therapy, and the pharmacy classes, since they all go under the same department. And so that in itself is the biggest life lesson I've had so far, probably. Because you have academics, then you have people, and they are very vastly different.
Can you tell the story about how, one, you chose to run for class president, and two, what happened to get it?
So when I came into school, first thing I was thinking of was, okay, I'm going to be the last person. I'm going to be the worst student out of this whole thing. Like, everybody's going to be, nerdy and way better at everything than me. So I was like, you better hit the ground running, or else you're going to be totally screwed. So that's exactly what I did. I wasn't really gunning for a class president thing, but as I started to get to know people and talk to people, I stepped into some natural atmosphere where I felt I was doing something right. And then people were kind of like, hey, we have these people running for class president. It's like, why don't you? And I was like, well, I don't know. And then it ended up being, oh, there's this guy running, so I should run against him because maybe I'll win. And it was totally like, don't worry about it. I'm probably not going to win. And then he read my name when I won, and I was like, whoa, like all of a sudden all the responsibility just sucked me. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I just get myself into?
So what did you get yourself into?
So it ended up ballooning out to be one of the most fun things I've done, which is odd because you'd be like, you're a team captain and things like that, but this is a little different because you're dealing with people who are going to be constantly stressed. They're constantly pushed to a moment of stress to where it can be crippling. And you have a group of people, and that toxic kind of stress really flies through a group of people real quick. It's really, really contagious. It's very contagious. And so it's almost, as class president, I took it upon myself to help kind of extract that stress a little bit and kind of make it towards, you know why you're here, you know where you're going, take it back into perspective. How many people above you have gotten through school? You're going to go through school too. And at the same time, if people are falling off the ship, to grab them back on.
you yourself have fallen into that stress trap. What do you do to, one, recognize it, and then once you recognize it, what are the mechanisms that happen or that you employ that bring you back to yourself?
So it takes me getting to the point of like not breathing, because the stress is so crippling sometimes, and it got me to the point where like my heart rate would increase. You would immediately start feeling like you're gonna be negative, not positive. And everything I do, you try to be positive about things, because that's actually, even though I come off sometimes negative, I'm actually very positive inside, which is kind of funny.
I assume that's with people at school, because I don't get to see that very often.
Well, yeah. Oh yeah, you can see. I mean, people are like, oh, you look all mad all the time. Like, well, that's just my face. I'm sorry, but my face looks mad all the time.
Resting mad face.
Yeah. So, yeah, a little RBS going on. You sit there and you kind of don't realize that you're 100%, nobody's telling you this. Nobody's telling you you're going to fail. Nobody's telling you this is hard. But you get to this point where there's a voice inside your head that's saying, oh, you're not prepared. You didn't prepare and you're totally screwed. And it cripples you, and it causes you almost not to breathe. And so it gets to that point where I'm like, all right, I kind of sit back just like I'm doing now, and I say, just breathe. Let's start with that. And sometimes, you take a test and it's like you totally you bomb it a little bit, or you don't bomb it, but you just don't do as well. Your expectations are now, getting A's. So it's like if you're not getting an A, it's almost for some people it's a definite failure. For me, it's like I know I'm capable of it, and it's very frustrating not to get it. There's people in my class that are still going strong that definitely have failed a test, and you get that feeling like it's totally a possibility, and it cripples you. And it's almost like you can't even study. You're looking and you're like, and then I just have to tell myself to start with step one foot in front of the other, take deep breaths, just take regular breaths for that matter, and then, it tends to get a little bit easier from there. The number one thing that holds you back is, again, the mix of people and academics. Extracurriculars that aren't associated with academics, which in my mind are very important, meaning getting yourself out of the classroom for a second, getting your mind off of one specific thing all the time. It's cheesy to be like, yeah, a hobby takes your mind off, but a passion for sure clears people's minds and gets rid of the gunk that builds up in there. Creativeness is very much what's lost first, and it's very easy to lose it because it takes extra effort, and that extra effort and people want to use on getting better grades, Right. But if you're somebody like me, you end up doing better by clearing your mind with all these other things, or saying, I'm going to take this time out of this day to do something fun. And in the end, it has always come out more beneficial. It's always been the opposite of what you would think by taking time off.
We know that you're now student body president. You're in your third year of 4, doctor of pharmacy. What brought you into this?
It's pretty amazing, actually. And it's kind of funny because the more I kind of went through school, the more I kind of went through like early 20s, it was how many doors can I open up, and how many things are awesome, and how many things do I want to do. And so a lot of that came into, and it's odd that I'm saying this because still the main focus is space, and like everything that's associated with how we got up to space and how we got to the moon.
Outer space, moon, yeah, right.
And it's funny because my mind had everything opened up to all these possibilities of what I can do with my life, and it kind of parallels what the vastness of space, you know. So I'm trying to connect the pharmacy world with the space world 100%. I definitely still think it's actually happening. There are 4 pharmacists at the Johnson Space Center working on stuff. I've been trying to get a hold of Dr. Tina Bayous at NASA, who's the lead clinical pharmacist, and she has not returned my calls. But that's bound to happen, I guess, when you're published like she is. So, but I'm still trying. Hopefully, get on board somehow, get my foot in the door to see how things are done, and to see if it really is something that I was hoping it was going to be. So, my ultimate goal is to somehow connect those two, and somehow contribute to the whole deal, because everything stems from our space travel initiatives, and so a lot of our technology has, you know, and I really, really enjoy looking into that kind of stuff, and so I really hope I can get into that.
So we're gonna see what happens to this guy over time as he opens up into this great journey of pharmacy related to space. Love you, man. I'm so glad to do this with you.